My wife cheated on me with her gym partner. Now she's pregnant, and I have no idea if the baby is mine or his. I never thought my life would turn into something resembling a daytime soap opera. Once, I admired her for her sophistication and elegance. I used to see her as a woman of grace and class, someone who lit up every room she entered. But now, I hardly recognize the person I married. Over time, our shared dreams faded, and our home turned into a battleground of emotions and secrets. It all began when I received a shocking text one morning. The message confirmed my worst fears. She was moving in with her gym buddy. This wasn't just a friend. He was the man she had been having an affair with for a while. To make matters even more complicated, she announced that she was pregnant. I was left reeling, unable to determine whether the baby was his or mine. Instead of taking the sensible step of arranging a paternity test, she brushed off the idea, saying that the thought of having her blood drawn was too embarrassing. I couldn't understand how she could be so careless about such an important matter. For the past week, she had been reaching out to me nonstop. Her phone buzzed with message each one, a plea for me to come back and fix what was broken. She would drop hints and gentle suggestions, trying to lure me back into a life we once shared. But ever since I learned about her affair, I have kept my distance. Although we still live under the same roof, our lives have become two separate islands. I barely speak to her now, and when our paths cross, our conversations are short and filled with tension. Even with all this pain and betrayal, a part of me still cares for her. I remember the woman I loved, and it hurts to see her unravel into someone so unpredictable. I worry about her, even though I know that she has chosen a path filled with mistakes. My lawyer is already informed, and is preparing for what I know will be a messy legal battle. The thought of dividing our lives, our home, and possibly even a child is overwhelming. I told her plainly that moving out wasn't a wise decision, especially when things were already so unstable. I suggested she get legal advice before making any rash moves, but my words seemed to fall on deaf ears. It was as if she had already decided on her own path and was not willing to listen to reason. I couldn't help but feel a deep sadness for her, wondering why she couldn't see that she might be better off alone, rather than tied to someone who clearly wasn't right for her. In the midst of this chaos, I couldn't stop thinking about the man she had chosen. I was curious, almost desperately so, about his role in all of this. I asked her if he was aware of the pregnancy and what exactly he had been told. Her answer was as calm and indifferent as she could make it. He knew about the pregnancy, and in his eyes, it didn't matter whether the baby was mine or his. All he cared about was his love for her. It struck me as odd. Why would a single man choose to get involved with a married, pregnant woman when he had so many other options? In my mind, his choice was baffling. Despite everything, I couldn't help but think that, in his own way, he had a certain charm about him. He had a stable job, his own home, and seemed to be in control of his life. Yet, his involvement in our tangled mess made him part of the problem. I often sit alone and wonder what has led us to this point. How did everything we built together collapse so completely? It feels as though our life has been hijacked by events that are too surreal to believe. I'm left questioning everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and loyalty. I struggle with a deep inner conflict. In one hand, I feel betrayed and hurt by her actions, and on the other, I find myself still caring about her well-being. The emotional roller coaster has left me both angry and sorrowful. The situation is complicated further by the thought of a child who might be caught in the middle of this chaos. If the baby turns out to be mine, what does that mean for our future? Will I be forced to share my life, my home, and even my child with a woman who now lives so differently from the one I once loved? These questions haunt me day and night. I can't shake the feeling of dread that comes with the uncertainty of what the future holds. I often lie awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to imagine a way out of this nightmare. Every option seems to lead to more heartache. In this new reality, the simple things in life have lost their meaning. The home that was once filled with laughter and shared dreams now echoes with silence and coldness. Every room reminds me of happier times that now seem like a distant memory. My heart aches for the past, even as I recognize that the future holds only more complications and pain. Looking back, I wonder if there was a moment when we could have saved what we once had. Perhaps if we had been more honest with each other, If we'd addressed the small cracks before they turned into huge fissures, things might have turned out differently. But now, every attempt at reconciliation feels futile. The damage is done, and I find myself trapped in a life that is as messy as it is unpredictable. I continue to navigate through this complicated web of emotions and decisions, unsure of what the next day will bring. I remain cautious and reserved, even as a part of me yearns for a return to simpler times. My lawyer advises me on the legal steps I need to take, and I try to follow his guidance, even though my heart is not in it. The future seems to be shrouded in uncertainty, and every decision I make carries the weight of potential regret. In the end, I am left with a mix of resignation and lingering hope resignation that things have come to this, and hope that maybe, somehow, I can find a way to rebuild my life after all the chaos. It is a journey I never wanted to take, and yet it seems inevitable. As I watch her leave to join her new partner, I can't help but feel a deep sense of loss for the life we once shared a life, that now belongs only to the memories of a love that has long since faded away. I found out my wife had slept with the videographer from our wedding. It's absolutely unbelievable. I never thought that after 13 years of knowing each other and just over a year of marriage, I would be plunged into such deep betrayal. It all began on what was meant to be one of the happiest days of my life, our wedding day. I had trusted him completely to capture that special day on film, a day meant to celebrate our love and commitment. Little did I know that this very day would mark the start of a painful end. We had built a life together, one where I often set aside my own dreams and opportunities to be with her. I had arranged my entire world around our relationship, believing that our love was unbreakable. But one day, that belief was shattered in the most unexpected and heartbreaking way. A couple of days ago, while we were away on a weekend getaway with friends, I made a choice that I never thought I would have to make. I decided to look through her phone while she slept. I told myself that I needed to know the truth, even if it meant crossing a line that I knew was wrong. I wasn't prepared for what I found. The messages on her phone were filled with intimate details and explicit language meant for someone else, and reading her words felt like a punch straight to the heart. The betrayal wasn't only in the fact that she was unfaithful, it was also in the way she had shared parts of our private life with another person. Every word, every intimate confession that I thought was only ours, now belonged to someone else. In that moment, I felt completely defiled, as if my very being had been stained by her deceit. In my shock and despair, I couldn't keep the pain to myself. I called my mom and siblings, and as I poured out my heartbreak, the tears just wouldn't stop. I felt completely alone, overwhelmed by the raw, crushing pain of the betrayal. I had trusted her with my life, and now I felt that everything I had built was slipping away. When she finally woke up and came downstairs, I knew there was no avoiding the truth. I confronted her, telling her how deeply her actions had hurt me. I explained that her betrayal wasn't just about one moment of unfaithfulness, it had shattered the future we had planned together. As I spoke, she sat there in silence, absorbing every word. That silence, heavy and unyielding, told me more than any words could. It confirmed the truth that I already knew. Our relationship had been deeply damaged. That night, we made the painful decision to end our marriage. In the quiet hours of the early morning, around 3 a.m., we packed our belongings in silence and left the only home we had ever known. The drive home was long and filled with an unbearable quiet. I could hear her soft sobs in the back seat, each tear a reminder of everything that was now lost. I sat there, numb, feeling as if my heart was slowly falling apart. Once we arrived home, nothing seemed to ease the overwhelming pain. I broke down completely, realizing that I wasn't just losing a partner, I was losing the life I had so carefully built. My friends, my hobbies, my personal dreams, everything was slipping away with her betrayal. The sense of loss was all-consuming, and I struggled to find a way to move forward. In the midst of my despair, my mom arrived to pick me up. I hastily gathered a few belongings, just enough to get me through the next few weeks, and made sure to take our cats along. Even they seemed to sense the tension and sadness that had filled our home. My mom's house became a temporary refuge, a small safe haven in the storm of emotions that had overtaken me. Before I knew it, I had sent the final text message that sealed our fate. "We're divorcing." Even as I typed those words, I felt a mix of overwhelming sorrow and numb acceptance. I couldn't simply turn off the love I still felt for her, even after everything had happened. 13 years of memories, both beautiful and painful, were now intertwined with a betrayal that hurt more than I ever imagined possible. As I sit here now, trying to piece together the remnants of my life, I am haunted by conflicting emotions. I remember the moments of joy and the deep connection we once shared, and yet I cannot forget the sting of her actions. I am caught between the love I once had and the pain of her betrayal. It feels as if I am holding on to the past, even as I struggle to move forward into an uncertain future. In these moments of reflection, I realize that I cannot see her as all bad. She made a terrible choice, one that has left deep scars on both of us. Despite everything, I still care for her deeply, which makes the pain even harder to bear. It is a complicated mix of love and hurt, a battle between the desire to hold on to what once was and the need to protect myself from further pain. I am now on a journey to rebuild my life, one piece at a time. I yearn to regain everything that I lost: the confidence, the dreams, and the simple joys of living without the shadow of betrayal looming over me. It is a slow process, one filled with difficult days and moments of doubt, but I know that I must move forward if I am ever to find happiness again. This experience has taught me many hard lessons about trust, love, and the importance of being true to oneself. Although the pain is still fresh, I am determined to learn and grow from this betrayal. I know that the road ahead will be challenging, but I also believe that, with time, I will heal and build a future free of the hurt that once consumed me. In sharing this story, I hold on to the hope that one day I will look back at this dark chapter as a lesson that made me stronger and wiser. Until that day comes, I continue to navigate the delicate balance between remembering the love we once had and embracing the painful truth that has set me on a new path. My fiancée called off the wedding at the last minute. She was having an affair with her coworker. On the 28th of February, everything changed in one shocking moment. I still remember that day clearly. My fiancée, Sarah, came home from her rotation job and told me that she no longer wanted to marry me. We had been together for 10 long years, and not long ago in January, we had even talked about eloping and starting our life together. But now, it all fell apart in just one day. Sarah was only 27 years old, yet we had built a relationship full of dreams and promises over a decade. I had always believed that our bond was unbreakable. We shared hopes for a future filled with love, growing old together, and raising beautiful children. I had supported her through the hardest parts of her job. For the past 5 years, she had been working a demanding rotation schedule. At first, her routine was 2 weeks away and 2 weeks at home, and I made it work because I was devoted to our future. I cherished every moment we spent together, Evan. When I had to celebrate birthdays alone, I knew our love was strong enough to overcome any distance. However, over the last year, Sarah's schedule had shifted. She began spending 3 weeks away and only 1 week at home. The long periods of loneliness had taken their toll on her, and gradually, I started to feel the effects of that distance too. Despite the pain of being apart, I held on, waiting for her return, believing that love would bridge the gap between us. I truly thought that our shared history and dreams were enough to overcome the challenges we faced. Then, just as I was beginning to find a glimmer of hope and the strength to heal my broken heart, a message arrived on my Facebook account. It was from a woman named Alicia, someone I had never met before. She asked if I was still with Sarah. Surprised and confused, I replied that we had split unexpectedly just a month earlier. It was then that Alicia revealed a truth that shattered everything. For months, Sarah had been having an affair with Alicia's husband. Alicia's husband, Taylor, was one of Sarah's coworkers. The revelation hit me like a tidal wave. How could someone I loved and trusted betray me so deeply? While I was waiting for Sarah at home feeling the weight of loneliness and longing, she was living a double life, indulging in a secret relationship. It wasn't just a one-time mistake fueled by a moment of weakness. Sarah and Taylor had been involved repeatedly over several months. Alicia and Taylor had been married for 15 years and had 4 children together. On the same day that Sarah broke off our engagement, Taylor returned home and ended his own marriage with Alicia. At first, Alicia was overwhelmed with confusion and guilt, wondering if she had done something wrong. But soon, Taylor confessed that he had been carrying on with someone else. With that confession, the truth became undeniable. While Sarah was still calling me and promising her love, she was busy betraying me with another man. I was devastated. I had never imagined that someone who had shared 10 years of memories with me could hurt me so profoundly. I had trusted Sarah with my heart and soul. We had experienced so many moments of happiness and beauty together. I clung to the belief that our love would overcome any obstacle. But now, that love had been tainted by lies and betrayal. It felt as if every precious memory was ruined by the painful knowledge of what she had done. The betrayal was not only a personal blow, it also felt like the destruction of everything we had built together. The future we had dreamed of growing old together, having children, sharing laughter and tears was now nothing more than a distant illusion. The revelation made me question every word, every promise, and every affectionate message that once reassured me of our commitment. How could someone who once said, "I love you" so sincerely do something so cruel? That night, I confronted Sarah over messages. It was the hardest conversation I have ever had. I told her that I knew everything, that I had learned of her affair, and that I could no longer hide the pain and anger that had been building inside me. She apologized profusely, insisting that she had never meant to hurt me, but her words felt hollow, unable to mend the deep wounds that her betrayal had inflicted. I told her that the pain she caused was immeasurable, and that I would never be able to forgive her for what she had done. In that moment, I realized that the person I once loved had transformed into someone unrecognizable. Sarah had become, in my eyes, a cruel and terrible persona homewrecker, who had not only destroyed our future, but had also shattered the bonds of trust and love that once held us together. I could not stop thinking about the two families that had been caught in the crossfire, the children, and Alicia, who were now suffering because of her choices. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the image of Sarah and Taylor together, and it cut my soul. I kept replaying the scenes in my mind, trying to understand how she could have been so heartless. The thought of her being intimate with another man, while she was still promising me love and loyalty, filled me with a deep, unrelenting pain. It was as if a part of me had been stolen, and I feared that the trauma would change who I was forever. In the days that followed, I felt a storm of emotion break, anger, sadness, and a desperate sense of loss. I tried to come to terms with the end of our long-term relationship, but the betrayal had left a scar that seemed impossible to heal. The future I once envisioned with Sarah was now a void, and I was left to pick up the shattered pieces of my life. Now, as I try to move on, I am haunted by the memories of what we once had. 10 years of shared experiences have been overshadowed by the betrayal that now defines our story. I had hoped that, with time, I would be able to look back and cherish the good moments we had together. But now, every memory is tainted by the pain of what was lost and by what she did to me. I continue to struggle with the overwhelming feeling of betrayal, trying to understand how someone who seemed so loving could cause such deep, lasting damage. I am left with an emptiness that is hard to fill, and a fear that the trauma will forever change the person I once was. The journey to healing seems long and uncertain, but I know that I must find a way to rebuild my life, piece by painful piece. This story is not just about lost love, but about the betrayal that can come from the most unexpected places. It serves as a reminder that even the strongest bonds can be broken by secrets and lies. As I move forward, I carry the weight of this experience with me, knowing that it will shape who I am and how I view trust and love in the future.